Turns out I'm still my 12-year-old self, because when I walked onto this space, the sensation that kind of overwhelmed me was sort of the ancestors saying, well, look who's in charge now. Hunters will be heroes until lions become historians. It's my favorite African proverb, and it really guides a lot of what I do, even before I was running a history museum.
Hi, and welcome to What Fuels You, where we sit down with social impact leaders to uncover what it is that fuels them to drive more impact. I'm your host, Andrew Troup, and today I'm sipping coffee with Dr. Tonya Matthews, President and CEO at the International African American Museum, to talk about her journey, the stories that shaped her, and what it is that fills her cup. Dr. Matthews,
Yes.
Tonya.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us for What Fuels You. I'm going to start with some really simple questions.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your beverage of choice that fuels you. And what does that tell us a little bit about your pace of life?
My goodness. So the beverage of choice that fuels me is chai tea latte with almond milk. At one point, someone told me that I should try chai because it tastes like Christmas. And I tasted it and I was like, oh, that is absolutely what December 23rd tastes like. And I just kind of stuck with it.
So no matter how hot it is outside, you're still drinking hot chai.
I am still drinking hot chai.
Building on this a little bit, because I think, at least for me, coffee brings me a lot of joy on a regular basis, helping me get through the day. Tell me about something recently that's just genuinely bringing you a little bit of joy.
I was doing an event at the museum, and I got off stage, and this young woman, maybe early 20s, she's kind of nervous. I'm like, calm down. Like, I'm on mentor autopilot mode. That sounds great. If you ever need this, feel free to call me, etc. Immediately after, though, her dad came up to me and said, thank you for inspiring my daughter like that. You don't know how much that meant to her. That brings me joy, knowing that in my natural state of being, that I could inspire folks. So it was good to be reminded that there's some joy in being on all the time.
I love that. And I think those are the special moments, right? Those moments when we realize very much unknown to us that we're inspiring somebody, having an impact on somebody, something that we may even think is small or autopilot is actually really meaningful for somebody else. What's maybe the first image or memory even that comes up of when you think about fuel?
I live half of my brain as a poet. So the minute you say fuel, it's all metaphorical, right? So I'm seeing smiles. I'm seeing my mother's face. I'm seeing my dad's 100% no holds barred support for his first child. I watch a lot of cartoons. Those kinds of things.
Tell me more.
Feed me. So listen. Before nerds were popular and allowed, right? I was in there in that space, from the comic books to the G.I. Joe to He-Man and She-Ra, all of it. I'm watching all of it.
When I was growing up.
So I'm into Japanese anime because of that. And it's not escapism as much as it is I'm flexing my imagination, right? The thing with fuel is you fuel up to expend it. Right? So fuel is not something that you hoard, right? I like to be radiating joy.
Let's talk a little bit about what's fueling you on the career side, because you've had quite an interesting journey, right? Through many different professions even, and leadership and training and storytelling.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that one moment when you realized, hey, I'm maybe not going to be just one thing, one career, one single lane.
So it's interesting. I think that the twisty turny path is more common than folks let on, because in hindsight I can tell my story rather linearly, right? But in the real world it was not like that at all. My degrees are all in science, technology, engineering, math, engineer by training, and now I find myself in the arts and culture side in the museum. My dad was closer to, what did I pay for? What are you doing over there? And my mother was closer to, I always knew you'd end up there. Because if I told you that's where you were going, you would have deliberately tried not to go there. It's not that my family or parents ever said no. Like, we definitely had boundaries. It was, you will finish what you start, right? Even if you try it out. So you want to try this sport, you want to try that club, that's fine. Once we pay these fees, you're going to finish the season, all right? If we buy these shoes, you're going to stay in there till it's done. Right. If after that you don't like it, move on. But it was that you're welcome to experiment, but you're going to have to get through that situation, sort of keep going.
It's interesting because it also aligns to those early values that you spoke about. That value of, yes, you can experiment, but you got to see it through. So I'm seeing a lovely through line here. As somebody who has an arts background, I applied to 5 different colleges for 5 different majors. And it was, I'm going to be in early education because I was working with children. I loved it. I'm going to be in marine sciences. And then at the last minute, I was like, no, I'm going to actually study music, which is what my heart is telling me to do. That artistry, that art part of us is actually not a nice to have. It's a core component of how we show up, how we lead, how we connect, how we communicate, how we collaborate. So I love that.
The core had always been this childhood goal to save the world. But I specifically remember save the world as opposed to change the world.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to fix things and save the world. It's how I ended up, even though I'm an engineer, it was the biomedical side of engineering. I realized I didn't like sick people, so we were going to need an alternative to becoming a doctor or a nurse.
That's right. That's sort of a critical component. So if that's not working.
If that's not working. And so, but it's interesting, the pivot to fine, I'll just build things for them. I'll be a biomedical engineer. Always that practical, always that type A.
Fast forward a little bit to where you are now.
Yeah.
Here you're in this incredible role, leading this incredible institution on a very sacred piece of ground. That also means having to lead with care. Tell me a little bit about that, because that's not, I'm just leading an organization. There's something really important about this.
Leading an African American History Museum, one that is grounded in a story rooted at the former site of the nation's most prolific transatlantic slave trading port. It has been really interesting to be in a role where the personal and the professional are 100% intertwining. I've been in leadership for a minute now, and I have the privilege of picking roles that are indeed personally important to me. But what struck me about this one is this was a head-on, no holds barred, you can't deny it.
Right. Intertwined with your identity, right?
That I really had to reckon with in a way that I don't usually. When I went to high school, my first year in high school, we're sitting down, they bring the freshmen in there with the guidance counselor. It's a college preparatory, all-girls school. And they're like, all right, we're going to guess some names of colleges we might go to in 4 years because we're all going to college. And so we're throwing names on the board. I raise my hand and I say, Yale. Sure, it's the best college I know at the time. We say, Yale. Guidance counselor pauses and says, okay, we're going to stick that on the board, but let's be reasonable. Like, we want to have some good choices, but, we want to set ourselves up for success. I put her name on a mental list and applied to Harvard instead. Got in, by the way.
It's a wonderful example of persistence, right? I mean, there is somebody who's just creating an artificial barrier that you absolutely were like, no, I'm not. No.
And it's interesting. So we have grown-up words now like persistence and resilience. At that age, and frankly, being a little black girl, it was an attitude problem, right? I was like, fine, whatever. This is the armor for the moment. So when I get to the museum, International African American Museum, and it's one of the questions I'm asking myself, how are you going to feel going to work every day at the place that used to be a giant slave trading port? Like, what is your reaction going to be? Turns out I'm still my 12-year-old self, because when I walked onto the space, the sensation that kind of overwhelmed me was sort of the ancestors saying, well, look who's in charge now. Right? And so that is a part of that. And I think that having that sensibility about it actually allows me to be kinder and more empathetic as I'm welcoming folks in the space, because I am not reckoning or dealing with any senses of insecurities about being in this space. There is an extraordinary amount of empathy required to have a gentle conversation with someone who is misinterpreting your story in conversation with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I call radical empathy. It's the practice of empathy without sympathy. I understand where you're coming from, and by the way, this is going to hurt, but we're going to do it anyway, right?
I love the radical empathy. I love sort of the sort of beautiful resilience that you've chosen to lead into this with. But there's a lot of weight in there, and so what keeps you going?
I am a Black woman in America. It doesn't matter what job I have. I would argue that the weight doesn't actually necessarily feel different in different spaces. I think the heaviest thing is actually being the role model in the situation. Now that I'm in a position that has so much power to make impact, I think what I worry about more probably than I should is the impact of failure. But as a leader, I'm no longer responsible for just myself.
Tell me a little bit about a story that you carry with you, or a way that you're leading, something that's shaping your current leadership that you don't get asked about.
I never get asked about how I seem to belong and fit wherever I am. And I was at some event, and one of the workers at the catering company came up and she said, "You know, I see you at all these things. I'm so fascinated about how you always look like you belong wherever you are. If I'm here, I belong here." But it's a way of owning that, but gently. If you smile at someone first, they can't help it, right? They can try to be grumpy. Like you can see them, even if they manage to not smile, you see them catch themselves. And so it's kind of like that. You do that, I think, with your energy. There was a period in my life when I could expend energy, right? And not have to be intentional about replenishing. But there needs to be intentional replenishing. Alone time replenishes energy. So when I vacation, they're like, "What did you do on a vacation?" Nothing. When I say nothing, I mean nothing. I mean, I'm on somebody's beach renting a cabana every day. Did you leave the resort? No, why would I do that? That sounds like work. That sounds like movement. I had a mentor who also said, you need to also learn how to rest on the run.
Oh,
and
I love
said,
that.
"Oh, say more.
How
Like,
do I rest on the run?
How does one do that? Because I'm always running." There are some work moments, because of who you're interacting with, they are feeding you. And he identified my family's Sunday dinners as those moments. Like, you do have to show up. It is a responsibility, but that space is feeding you.
I was gonna say, but by showing up, there's so much that you're getting in return, right? So
if you don't identify it as a moment of feeding, then it won't feed you. I need to make more room for the things that I just have fun doing. Like, I am a forever beginner intermediate salsa dancer, okay? Because I can never get to more than 3 lessons at once in a row. And so that by the time I get back, I have forgotten and I'm back to the beginner level. But I love it. I love to dance. I have so much fun.
If you were to go back and speak to your younger self, speak to young Tonya, talk a little bit about what would your advice be for navigating and finding purpose?
I would tell myself to pay more attention to what is happening. A lot of my childhood memories are things my mother has told me in adulthood. I would tell myself to be a more regular journal writer or to take more pictures. It's clear that my life, childhood experiences really did have an impact. And even my brothers and sisters can see it because they'll tell me, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because remember when you did da-da-da?" I was like, no, please tell me the story so I can commit it.
Which is amazing because you're an amazing storyteller and you've got all these stories, but the one story that's maybe got a few holes in it is your own childhood story.
Exactly.
I love that.
And then I think, like a lot of people my age at this point, I would tell myself to suck it up and spend more time with your elders. There's that childhood age where the grown-ups are just too slow. They talk too slow. They move too slow. And I think that part of this is also me now running a history museum, and we do like the oral histories and the genealogy and that kind of thing. And so if there was a that I would sort of tell my younger self, it would be to try to sit still, and have those conversations with the older folks, even if what they were saying sounded a little weird. at the time, which inevitably it will.
Does
but
to
it's,
a child.
It's context.
Yeah.
It's context. In today's world, it probably needs to be said out loud just a little bit more often to remind ourselves to be present. And it's not a tech-free day. It's not a no. I'm gonna be present.
Just gonna be present.
I'm just gonna be here today.
Well, with that, let's shift gears and actually be present for a moment.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite portions of our What Fuels You vodcast.
Okay.
This is our rapid fire questions.
Oh, I suck at this. Okay, let's do this. Let's do it.
It's going to be fun, I promise. Early mornings, late nights.
Oh, late nights.
Late nights,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Me and the snooze button have a relationship.
One habit that sets the tone for your day.
Morning journaling. I now journal in the morning.
Morning journaling. Book, poem, some type of line that you return to when you need perspective.
Hunters will be heroes until lions become historians. It's my favorite African proverb, and it really guides a lot of what I do, even before I was running a history museum.
One value you won't compromise on.
Believing in love.
One thing that surprised you about yourself as a leader.
That I enjoy leading. My tagline was, second in command is where it's at. I've seen the top ones, no parts of it. Turns out it's the opposite, that I love setting vision, gathering resources, and then laying cover.
What do you need to reset fast?
Movement. I have go-to reset songs, yes.
I love that. Well, as we round things out, I have just a couple last questions to get your quick reflections on. The first is, as you kind of look back, what do you see as one of your proudest contributions?
One of my proudest contributions is the way I recovered from, there was a particular failure. Ooh, and I was about to make it worse. I was about to make it worse. The short version of the story is, it was going to be the second time we pulled off this big event acknowledging unsung heroes. The moms, the grandmoms, arguably Black folks as well, right? We did the first year, it was seamless, it was beautiful. We did the second year, I opened the newspaper because my team had taken over it. I opened the newspaper to find that we were honoring, 8 people. Woo, they all looked alike and none of them looked like me. I lost it.
Yeah.
I absolutely lost it. I ran to my office and I was getting my statements ready. I was gonna be, and then I paused and it hit me that I had gone from being fully engaged in the process the first time to being completely disengaged with the process the second time, assuming that because my team had simply watched me and participated, that they could handle it on their own. And I realized that that had been my failure. I literally was in tears. But once I got past that moment and I could bring my director in and we had the conversation, he was like, yep, yeah, I saw it. And next year we'll do better and sort of all those things. He's a white gentleman. And to this day, he is one of the best inclusion practitioners at this point because of that experience and how we ended up getting through it together, that he knows about the kinds of leaps and assumptions you could make. And I'm really proud of that.
Shifting to the museum for a moment, what do you want people to feel when they come to the museum today?
I think to understand how African Americans hold the story is to understand our ability to simultaneously hold the sensations of trauma and joy, right? No happy part, no sad part. And I want to create a space where people are comfortable feeling everything. I have some visitors who come and they don't know if they have permission to feel joy in the space. They're like, am I feeling the right thing? Like, I understand sort of where I'm supposed to be. And so I want to create a space where they also feel enough welcome, where they have permission to do that. We're part of every narrative that we have the privilege to know.
Yes.
Right? And so I think the future of the museum is for people to walk in, feel all of the feels, with the additional feeling that this is their story too, that there are pieces of this that are their story too, no matter what your background is or no matter how you actually ended up in this space.
As you look toward the future, what's next for Tonya?
I can happily say, I don't know. That is the privilege of being well into your career. And I'm at a moment right now where I actually understand that what I'm currently doing is undone. cannot go anywhere till I finish what I started, sort of. And I'm at peace with that. It's easier for me to tell you where I want the museum to be in 10 years than it is for me to tell you where I want to be in 3, right? And so, but I'm at peace with that. I'm actually really comfortable with that. So yeah.
Tonya, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation and sharing your journey and your insights.
Sure.
It's so greatly appreciated.
It's been a delight to be here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.